Hey everyone, Lori Marie here. Today I'd like to talk about a sensitive topic. Um, there are different forms of abuse, and sometimes it's not easy to recognize when it's happening to us. Today I'm joined by a special guest, Francesca Rayo Ellison, who's the founder of a nonprofit organization called Omena. And Omena's mission is to break the cycle of verbal, emotional, and psychological abuse. So that's what we'll talk about today. And Francesca will also provide some information about educational resources and how you can contact her for a training or a workshop for you and your team. So without further ado, please welcome Francesca. It's so nice to see you, Francesca. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Lori, for having me today. Very excited to get to share about the work and to talk about verbal, emotional, and psychological violence.
Thank you for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Francesca, and how you came to start Omena?
hmm Yeah, so like you shared earlier, there's a lot of different forms of violence, and the way I grew up understanding violence. So I'm originally from Madagascar, and the only forms of violence that I could really recognize were physical and sexual violence. And it was only through a training when I was a sexual assault peer educator, actually, that I learned that before escalating into physical and even sexual violence, it usually starts with verbal, emotional, and psychological violence. And those forms of violence are so subtle, sometimes ingrained in different cultures, but we don't see it as wrong sometimes. And in cultures like mine, where I grew up, it was so normalized that I couldn't even see it as wrong. So that was my first understanding of the problem, and realizing it through the training allowed me to have another understanding of not only what the problem was, but the consequences on my sense of identity, dignity, self-esteem, and especially mental health. And that was my aha moment at that moment, realizing that I experienced it, but also that I was not the only one experiencing it, and that led me to want to do something about it overall. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Um, what is Omena all about, and who are you working with right now?
Yeah, so Omena is a play on words in my native language. It's in Malagasy. So the entire word means give, provide, and the part that says mena means red. So we provide tools, we call them social emotional learning tools, so that people can basically see the signs, stand up for violence, and mena as in red, so breaking the cycle of violence, providing the tools so that they can break the cycle of violence. So our mission is in our name. We work with youth mainly, but also with organizations working with youth or children. We do provide training based on social emotional learning, which is basically understanding people's emotions, naming them, um, feeling the emotions, regulating ourselves, setting boundaries, hold hard conversations or hold space for other people. So the way we're breaking the cycle is by preventing it, preventing it in the first place by having those tools to help us self-regulate and recognize those toxic behaviors and try to promote healthier behaviors. So that's the way we're doing it. And we do that through awareness sessions, which are sessions where we shed light on what emotional abuse looks like, what are the signs, what are the causes, the maybe the systems of oppressions that have been perpetuating it, and the consequences on people's sense of identity, mental health on a micro level, as well as the macro level. And and then we provide the training to help people break the cycle.
And Francesca, how long is the training and what does it look like?
So the training is a 2-day training. Usually, if we do the longer form, we excuse me. We usually have 15 to 20 people during the session. The first day is we call it awareness session, where the first part of the day is all about understanding the signs. So emotional abuse is so subtle, it can be seen as belittlement, manipulation, gaslighting, but and the way that it looks like are it's the same, but in the different context. It starts in the household and it has spillover effects in all of the relationships in our lives, and showing how it is a cycle, how sometimes we have experienced it and how we are perpetuating it without even realizing it. So that becomes a conversation at the very beginning of the training. And then the second day is all about the tools, understanding the language of emotions, using wheels of emotions, um, starting to learn how to hold space for people, validating their own emotions. We do a little bit of introduction in somatic breathing as well. We do because a lot of the times we try to navigate our emotions up here, and when it comes to feeling our emotions and social emotional learning, it's also feeling the emotions because they go through our bodies in 90 seconds, and sometimes when we don't acknowledge it, it gets stuck somewhere. And if we don't have that knowledge, sometimes it can lead to long-term chronic pain, and that's an introduction that we do, at least for the training. And we have follow-up sessions later on. We call them community of practice, where the people meet once a month for 6 months. And that's the way for us to build capacity in the way they practice the social emotional learning tools.
And are these in-person trainings or are they virtual online?
Yeah, so we offer both. It's more powerful when it's in person, but with everything that's happening, we have been able to adapt as well. So we have done those sessions online as well.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the changes you've witnessed in people after they've gone through this educational program?
Yeah, so maybe here I'll share a little bit about my personal experience. When I started this work, I experienced this type of, I would say, behavior and violence at home, mainly with my dad. But we didn't know it at first. I went through the training. I shared a video talking about emotional abuse to my dad, and we had that hard conversation. He looked at the video. I was like, "What do you think about this, Dad?" And he looked at it and was like, "This is wrong." And I was like, "But you know you're doing this to us." And he lashed out. He was like, "I'm not doing that." And
Oh,
we ended the conversation there. But a month later, I think he talked to my mom. He did a little bit of introspection, and he got back to my brothers, my mom and I, and he apologized, and he said that he was doing that, and his dad did the same thing.
oh.
So in terms of the change of attitude towards the problem in itself, that's what we see first after the training. First of all, people realize that they might have experienced it, they might have perpetuated it, or they might have some trauma that they have been projecting on other people without acknowledging or knowing it. So that's the first step. And um, we have I started the organization back in 2019. So through the different I would say use of the tools that we have used with the family, especially over I would say 4 years, we had my dad say "I love you" for the first time to my brothers
Oh.
and we knew that when he started recognizing that this was an issue that he has gone through, his whole healing started, as well as the dynamic in the household. We had a lot of difficult conversations. It was a lot of, I would say, parenting. When my dad would go through things, we would ask him, are you mad right now? Are you sad? And we would have to like work through it all together. But this is an example of how the work has been for the educators that we have been working with. Of course, there are times where the it's hard, like the change is not happening, and it's hard to make those changes, especially when parents or people at are at the certain age, and it's harder to see those changes. But a lot of the times that what we have seen, people have been open to harder conversations and healthier relationships, sometimes ending relationships as well if it was really toxic. So having that agency and making the decision to end relationships or to have the courage to stand up for ourselves and really change the relationship for ourselves by setting boundaries or um, having those difficult conversations overall.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Francesca. And I really admire you for having that conversation with your father and for helping your family go through this transformation, and then for taking your own experience and using that to help other people. Thank you for doing that.
Thank
Um,
you. My pleasure.
so Amena is not just for people who feel that they have received emotional, physical, and verbal abuse. It's also for others who might be engaging in that type of abuse. Is that fair to say?
Yes, yes, exactly. A lot of the times what we have realized was that sometimes people don't realize it.
Mhm.
Of course, it's different when you do it on purpose and really are aware of what you do. But what we have seen in a lot of the sessions of awareness is out of the I would say 100% of the people would be in the room, and we would have 40% of them coming forward at the end of the session and really sharing that, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that this is something that I might have done, or that, oh, my parents or my grandparents, or and it becomes like a an entire bigger conversation when it comes to realizing the hurt or having perpetuated it. And sometimes it takes time as well. Sometimes the denial is there. So we're not here to point fingers, but more coming from a place of empathy, saying that this is an issue and what can we do together to end it. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, I know that you work with young people and survivors as well. Why do you think that's important to Armena's work?
Yeah, so 100% actually of the people working at the organization are all survivors.
Mm.
They have joined uh, a little bit after, actually, I shared a video in 2019 where I shared my personal story, and I was looking for people who could relate to the problem. And the next day, the video was shared massively. And like a bunch of young people reached out and they said, this is not just happening in Madagascar, it's happening in my romantic relationship, at home, at school. And from there, I would say that momentum led to the creation of the organization. And I would say that it's that community that has been, we are survivor youth-led organization. And I feel like that has made the difference in terms of how we have been operating and the mission in itself. And I would say the drive in the work that we do. And also having the people experiencing it kind of leading the way in terms of the change they want to make and having a seat at the table to make those different changes as well.
And I've seen your video. It's excellent. I trust it's on your website, right? We'll give folks your website address at the end, but
Yeah,
your video is definitely worth watching. It was courageous and meaningful and
mm,
inspirational. So I encourage folks to check out Francesca's website, Omena's website, and look for Francesca's video.
thank you.
Um, what is your dream for the future in terms of emotional, psychological wellness?
Mhm. I would love to see a world where people are um prioritizing emotional health.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the conversation that we have are centered around mental health, and I know it's a big part of why emotional health is important as well. So having children maybe by the age of 10, knowing how to name their emotions, express their emotions in ways that are healthy, and having them have empathy towards others. I feel like the world would be such a better place if we could have that. And also recognizing the importance of this type of violence, verbal, emotional, and psychological. We have a lot of organizations that are focused on post-abuse, which is awesome, and also prioritizing the prevention side of this type of violence, because a lot of hurt and harm are caused by not being able to prevent it in the first place. So I would love to see a world where we could do that.
Beautiful. Is there anything that you would like to share that you wish the audience knew about emotional, verbal, psychological abuse? Is there any um, last thing you'd like to share that I haven't already asked you?
Um, I don't know if you know, but there is over the cost of emotional abuse here in the US, according to the CDC's $120 billion a year in terms of
Wow.
the cost of, mental health, incarceration costs, medication, juvenile. So it is costing the country a lot. So that's why thinking about prevention, I think is the way to go. And the first step is to recognize that this is really a problem so that we can start addressing it and breaking the cycle that way before it escalates into the other forms of violence.
Thank you, Francesca. If folks want to get involved with Omena, support your work, or ask for a training or a workshop, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, I'm very excited because I think we will get to work together already with MHARI. The way to reach out would be through email, at my email or at Umena's email. We can drop it in the newsletter, but it's Francesca Rawlison at umenamovement.org or info@umena.org. And our website is Umena Movement. .org as well. And yeah, I'm open to collaborating and to start working on this issue here in Rhode Island where I am. So open to any collaboration. Thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you, Francesca. I really appreciate the amazing work that you're doing, and again, for your courage and openness. And I hope that a lot of people will feel inspired and reach out to Omena for those workshops. And I certainly would be interested in participating in one. So maybe some folks watching this video will join me. But thank you so much for just scratching the surface of this really interesting and important topic, Francesca. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care, everyone. Talk soon.